This is the Sons of UCF podcast, your place for UCF sports talk year-round. Now, here is Adam and Mike.
All right, here we go again. The 127th edition of the Sons of UCF is coming at you. My name is Adam, and as always, my good friend and yours, Mr. UCF Mike, is back for another week. Mike, how are you, my friend?
Doing great, man. Good to be back and ready to go.
Good to be back, ready to go. Happy belated Easter to everybody out there who celebrates. Hopefully everybody had some fun and enjoyed some time with the family. But it's time to get back to UCF work, and that's what we'll do here tonight. So we'll go over our third and final open practice as we prepare for our spring date coming up this Saturday. We'll talk a little volleyball as we're heading to the tournament. We'll talk some baseball as things have continued to get a little bit up and down for that group. Some of our former Knights were in the Underwear Olympics, Mike, so we'll cover everything that was there. We have Cow of the Week, and our special guest this week is one of the largest human beings to perhaps ever grace the UCF football field. Mr. Torell Troup is our guest tonight, Mike. An action-packed show, not one you're going to want to miss.
Troop. We just got done talking to that guy. What a nice gentleman, great guy. Fun, and everybody loved saying his name in the stadium. There's only been a few guys that get that. The Doozable, Troops, and maybe like one or two others. But very good interview. You guys are going to enjoy that one.
Very soothing voice. He has a very soothing voice for a large human as he is. Very soothing voice. I think I wouldn't mind him like reading the phone book to me, maybe kind of soothing. Maybe you have a headache or something, or just had a rough day at work. I feel like I want to call Torell up and just have him read a book to me or something.
Yeah, you could do one of those meditation videos for sure.
He definitely could.
Put
yeah,
you right to sleep.
The Calm app. Yeah, he could definitely be the star of the Calm app with Torell Troup. So you'll enjoy that. Plus, Mike, we've got the final, the championship game. No, not of the NCAA tournament, but of the greatest plays in UCF history tournament. And we will we'll share all that with you as well. But to get all that good stuff, you have to do some work. So here's what you need to do for us. Make sure you find us on social media at Sons of UCF on all of your major platforms. Give us a follow there. We'd appreciate that. Also, make sure you follow Mike at UCF Mike 1. He'd appreciate the follow there as well. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review to the podcast. You can do that wherever you get your shows. And 5-star ratings are always appreciated around here. We got some hats we're giving out these days, Mike. So maybe a hat comes your way if you give us a really good review or something we find funny. You never really know. And don't forget to follow us on Thursday nights live on the interwebs, Mike, for Sons of UCF Live featuring Trace Trelko. Those are all the places you guys can find us. So you have a little homework to do. That's fine. It's okay. But don't worry. The rest of the show will definitely make up for it. So do all those things for us now. You will not. I repeat, you will not regret it.
And coming soon, Sons of UCF Plus. When you guys are going to have to pay for this content that we're giving you for free. And we're giving out free stuff. People are getting their hats in the mail already today. I've seen a couple guys already putting the hat on. I saw JP Gilbert do a walk and talk with the hat.
He did, yeah.
Very cool stuff. I'm glad those guys are enjoying it. We've teased them with the hats for a couple months now. We finally got more in our possession, and now we're just giving them out to some people.
It was a solid walk and talk by JP for somebody who, it seems like he was a little nervous. I think the exact words he used to describe his walk and talk were vulnerable and exposed. But I feel like he nailed it. I think he did a nice job. I'm not saying that Trace Trelko has anything to worry about, but I'm not saying he doesn't.
Yeah, if Trace ever comes down sick or something one day, he needs to take a day off, and JP can step in right away without a problem.
And then speaking of what's next for the Sons of UCF, Mike, Black and Gold Ed on Twitter basically said that when we open our first sports bar, he wants to see your greatest plays on a loop in the TV there. So Sons of UCF Sports Bar coming soon. I don't know. Wasn't in the plans, but you never know, Black and Gold Ed. You never know what'll happen next around here. That's for sure.
Yeah, we never planned on doing live pregame shows, and we never planned on doing live weekly shows. Maybe one day we will have a sports bar. But you know who does have a sports bar coming up is our buddy Drew Belani, the Poor Choice. And maybe I give him permission to run that on a loop at his bar if he wants.
All right. So until or if, and maybe never, the Sons of UCF bar gets put together, Drew Belani has our official permission to use Mike's videos on a loop, and he's got a hat now too, so he can wear that behind the bar.
Yep. And I mean, we talked to him about it. Hopefully, one day we'll be able to go up there and maybe do a show from his place.
I just want to drink. I mean, well, if we have to talk in front of a microphone to do that, that's fine. But as long as we got some cold beers on tap, Merrick. But what is on tap is spring practice coming to an end, Mike. This is the last week as we record this on a Monday of spring practice. The kids will be out a couple days this week, and then obviously the spring game is on Saturday. But we saw the final installment of the open practice situation for UCF this past weekend, Mike. And finally, to me, there's a couple of key names that have really emerged in this last practice. And I'm not sure if that's by design. I'm not sure if that's just by the account of reps, Mike. But the two names I think that stuck out the most were Mikey Keene and Jalen Griffin, both on offense. Seemed like they had some really, really good days, Mike. Obviously, we don't know everything that took place because, I'm sure Malzahn keeps himself close to the vest there. But your final impressions of the final open practice were what?
And Mikey Keene having a good day is big news because, like we discussed before, we don't really know who the backup quarterback is. I mean, we want to say that it's Quadri, but he has just as much experience really as these other guys, only having played in a couple of games here and there. So that's up for grabs. And if Keene can come in and take that job away, remember, we still have Parker Navarro also. And those guys were recruited here before Malzahn got here. So we don't know which one fits his system the best. Which guy can move around more? How does Malzahn want to work these guys? Is he going to have a lot of RPOs set up for him? But good to hear that Keene, the true freshman coming in, maybe he can not take a red shirt. And we've seen it. Dylan Gabriel came in as a true freshman and got a lot of playing time. We don't expect him to come in and be the starter, but he can be a guy that comes in mop-up duty, and if he plays in more than 4 games, he can get rid of that red shirt.
Yeah, I mean, it was good to see, again, the same thing that we had in last week's practice. The quarterbacks were live with the exception of Dylan Gabriel, meaning that they could be hit by the defense. And again, by all accounts, Mikey Keene played really well, and Navarro played some. Looks like he had a couple of nice runs, but he played really well. The other observation some folks were making on social media was the D-line. Obviously, we're still missing the big cat. But it looked like the D-line is probably stacking up like we expected. Tremont Morris-Brash, Kalia Davis, Cam Good, and Landon Woodson looks like they're the first 4 on the D-line, Mike. And that's a position group that obviously we're hoping to get some strides in last year. Obviously, we lost a couple of key guys mid-season. And so having a stout D-line is certainly a big recipe for success. And it sounds like perhaps, with the big cat, coming in at some point, it sounds like maybe we've got our trio or our quad or our 5-some, however you want to say that, of guys to rotate in there.
Yeah, that is the position group where I'd expect big improvement this year. And the guys you just mentioned, I expect our sack numbers to go up. And, of course, that's going to help out every level of the defense. It's going to help the linebackers. It'll help the secondary. They won't have to cover for as long. And if you can get pressure with only 4 guys, that changes everything. You can drop more linebackers into coverage and just make everybody else's job a lot easier. So when the big cat comes to town and you pair him with these other guys, I think it's going to spell big trouble for a lot of teams in our conference.
The one thing we did learn about post-game from Malzahn is that we got some running backs that are banged up. He didn't offer specifics, but he mentioned some running backs and some depth in the running back position. And so something to monitor, Mike. Obviously, it's only spring practice, but that's the first time I think we had seen or heard about some running backs being banged up. We do know that Bentavious played at the open practice a little bit. We know that Johnny Richardson played a little bit. We know RJ Harvey got a couple of looks, so not quite sure the extent of the injuries. Hopefully nothing too serious, Mike, but at least one of the biggest goals every time we have these conversations is to get out of this injury free. Hopefully these are just minor kind of nicks and bruises, but at least looks like some running backs are at least a little banged up going into the spring game.
Well, running back's a position that's going to take a lot of beatings during practice. You expect a couple guys to get nicked up here and there. The good thing is we have a lot of them, so we should be able to fill that position in. And the spring game seems to be the day where running backs kind of dominate the day. We've seen it out of Greg McCrae. We've seen Trillian Coles have a huge day at the spring game. And is that because we're not throwing the ball as much? And now with a new system coming in, we've got to establish the run a lot more. So I expect some running back to have a big day in the spring game again. Who it's going to be is up for grabs.
Also seems like one of the goals of the practice was they were working heavily on situational football. Malzahn specifically mentioned that they were putting the ball down on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9, just to kind of see how people react, Mike. So looks like getting into more situational football, which is always great. Then they kind of moved some things around and put the ball to 25 to 30 and just kind of see how the teams sort of perform and how that works, Mike. And that included the kickers. So we had a Daniel Obarski sighting. And Malzahn says that Obarski nailed a 50-plus yarder. He says it could have been 54 or 55 that Obarski banged through the uprights. I know we'd been sort of, I don't know, ruminating on or speculating on what's going on with Obarski. We hadn't seen him out there before, but looks like he's back, Mike. And 54, 55, that's nothing to sneeze at, my friend.
Well, we've never questioned the strength of his leg. We know he can kick the ball far. It's how accurate he can kick it and if he can keep it in bounds. And we've seen kickers throughout UCF's careers have a bad start to the career. Look at Javier Borlegi's numbers from his first couple seasons. They're not great, but the guy kicked one of the bigger kicks in school history. And there's still time for Obarski. He's only played one season. He can get this thing straightened out. He can turn into a very good kicker. Even Matt Wright. I mean, his very first kick was blocked to lose the game against FIU, bounce back and turn it around and have a very solid career. It's not over for Obarski. He's got a chance, but we need to see some more consistency out of him. Starting now, that's a good sign. They'll have a good spring game and come into the season with confidence. That's the biggest thing for a kicker is confidence. It's just like a hitter in baseball. If you're coming out to kick the ball and you're already shook mentally, then that's half the battle.
Well, so speaking of mental, it sounds like they ended the scrimmage with another Obarski kick, trying to create some pressure. It seems like everybody was sort of gathered around him, yelling and screaming, and there was some sort of a running penalty that was at stake. I don't know if it was up downs or some sort of a gasser or whatever, but essentially Obarski had to make this kick with everyone yelling and screaming with some punishment on the line, and apparently he doinked it in. So he hit it off the post, but it ended up falling through. So maybe that'll be the first part about the pressure situation. It seems like at least on the first effort, it works out well. So hopefully we won't have any repeats of last year's pressure situations for Obarski.
When we had Borlegi on the 20th anniversary show, he said that Kruzak used to do that to him all the time. Put it down at the end of practice, and you got to hit this one, or else the team's got to do, I don't know, like 20 sprints or whatever it is. And he said that was more pressure on him than any kick during any game because he didn't want let his teammates down. So I'm sure Obarski had some nerves going through there. At least once it banged off the upright, it went the right way, not the wrong way. Because some guys would have probably been a little upset with him if he missed that one.
The one thing I've noticed Malzahn does, and he's very reluctant to mention any specific player by name unless asked about that player. So he's very reluctant to just kind of call guys out or shout guys out. He doesn't really use anybody's names. He referred to Obarski as the kicker, didn't even refer to him by name. He'll answer questions. Obviously, people ask about Dylan Gabriel, about certain players, and he answers those questions. But he never wants to talk specifics about players. And somebody kind of asked him a general question like, hey, who's impressed you? And he was pretty much like, yeah, you know what? I'll talk about that later. Maybe at the end of spring, we'll sit down and go over it. So he certainly is definitely keeping guys on his toes. I know he kind of said essentially, hey, coming in here, it's a blank slate. Everyone's going to have a chance to compete. Everybody's going to have a chance to earn their spot. And he's certainly not giving up from that mantra, Mike. He's not necessarily out there talking about any one player specifically. He's not really throwing a ton of praise around, which maybe is good to see, kind of a blank slating and inspire some guys to continue to compete and motivate.
How much of that is he just doesn't know everybody's name yet? I mean, it's got to be a factor, I would think. Some people are good at names. Some people takes them a while. He's only been here a month. He had to learn, over 100 guys' names. He's got how many guys on the coaching staff? I mean, you figure he knows them, but it's still some other 20 guys, plus all the guys that work around the practices that are helping out and video guys. I mean, he's met 300 new UCF people in the last month. Maybe he doesn't know everybody's name. He knows Dylan Gabriel. He knows a few others, but it may take him a while. Or maybe he just doesn't want to reveal anything. It's another possibility.
Well, with 1 week to go, obviously, I guess we'll see what is on store for the spring game. He was asked about format. Obviously, some coaches and some programs do that a little differently. He's kind of saying it's just going to be football. They're going to put the ones against the twos type of thing, and they're going to put the ball down and play some football. So we'll see what that shakes out to be, Mike. But leading up to the last week of practice, obviously a couple things. Staying healthy, I think, is going to be huge and important. And let's see who the breakout star is. Let's see, every year, like you said, there's somebody whose name sort of leaks out or that kind of pops up, on the field that we weren't expecting. So let's see who that name is this year, Mike, as we get to the spring game, which is always a sad time. It's a happy time and a sad time. It's happy because it gave us a couple more months of football. Sad time because this essentially means that we are going to be talking about nothing but recruiting and all this other off the field stuff for the next couple of months as we wait for fall camp to come around. But one last week for the Knights. Hopefully things turn out well. Hopefully everyone remains healthy. But it sounds like things are all systems go for hopefully a good spring game this Saturday.
Yeah, we've been busy enough with football this whole off season. It's been crazy with Danny White leaving and then Hypo leaving. We thought things were going to slow down back in January. They never has. And now, after this week, I think things will slow down a little bit. But you know what's the way Malzahn's been recruiting, it can still stay pretty interesting. Who knows? He brings in a 5-star guy here or there. We know some of them are touring campus soon. This summer may not be as boring as we think it is.
We shall see, Mike. And something that's not boring, transitioning here quickly. I don't know if you've caught a lot of this over the weekend. I actually hadn't happened to catch some of it on Saturday. The volleyball team won the American Conference tournament, taking down Temple in 4 sets, 3-1. It was a tight 4-set. It was a good 4-set, but UCF pulls it out. And then we learned a couple days later that they will be going to the NCAA tournament. So the tournament for volleyball is done a little bit differently than you may be used to with some of the basketball type sports. Some of the quote unquote better teams are seeded; they get byes, and then other teams sort of play with the opportunity to go against those guys. So UCF will be playing against High Point. Mike, pop quiz. Any idea where High Point is?
No, I never even heard of it before. I saw the bracket, or our part of the bracket today. I saw High Point. No clue.
I think I know. I think it's North Carolina. I did not look that up. This is going to be an honor system for me. I'm going to search right now. High Point University is located in. Wait for it. It is in High Point, North Carolina. So I was correct. High Point, North Carolina. It is a let's see, High Point University affiliated with the Methodist Church, blah, 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 blah. Either way, Mike, they're 16-0. UCF 16-1. They will be playing on Wednesday, April 14th, 3:30 on ESPN 3, which I think is different than ESPN Plus, just FYI for people out there. So I think ESPN 3 is like a less about a subscription service, but I don't really know how that works. So someone's going to have to Google what the difference between ESPN 3 and ESPN Plus is. But either way, that's where you'll find the Knights battling High Point. I don't know what their mascot is. I should figure that out. What is their mascot here? Let me look at that up. And the winner of that game will have the right to play Purdue, who was sort of the seeded team in their pod. They are only 14-6. And that game would be on the subsequent Thursday, Mike. So first off, we have a team in the tournament, which is fantastic. Volleyball has been on a pretty good hot streak this entire season, 16-1 heading in there. Looks like hopefully this is a team that's poised to make a bit of a deep run in the tournament.
This team has been good for the last few years. Coach Dagenet's done a very good job. Always been competitive. And what is the furthest we've ever gone in this tournament? Does anybody know? I don't expect you to know the answer. Yeah. I have no clue.
Who am I, Eric Lopez? I don't know. I don't know the answer. Just kidding. Love you. Just kidding, buddy. But I don't know the answer.
Tune into this week to find out the answer to these questions.
Yes, absolutely.
But good for them. Let's see if we can make a run. We've only lost one game all year. We're playing an undefeated team, so something's got to give here, right? And I like our chances. And then we get Purdue in the second round. And how many wins do we have to win this whole thing? It's got to be what, 4 or 5? How many teams in the tournament?
Yeah, I don't know that either. I think after Purdue, then we'd have another game. So I think it's at least 5, but it could be 6. Could be your traditional 6 format. By the way, quick update: High Point's mascot is the Panther, so it's the High Point Panthers. And Mike, some notable alumni of High Point while I'm here on the Wikipedia page: Tubby Smith, former college basketball coach. And I don't think there's another name on here that anyone would ever know. Austin Dillon, he's a NASCAR driver. Cody Allen, Mike, ring a bell. He plays for the Dodgers. He was a pitcher, apparently.
Yeah, Cody Allen.
Okay.
He's not the one that played for us, right? Am I thinking of the same guy?
I don't think
Cody
so.
Allen. Did he transfer?
I don't believe so.
Who's the closer we had that was with the Indians? I thought his name was Allen.
You know what? You are correct, actually. He did play for UCF. Look at that.
Thank you.
He played college baseball for UCF, St. Petersburg, and High Point. So the Cody Allen Bowl, apparently, here. The Battle of the Cody Allens as we play High Point in the volleyball tournament, Mike. But I don't know if people out there are volleyball fans. I obviously, for those who maybe I haven't mentioned this before, I actually played a little volleyball back in my high school days. I actually enjoy watching it. It's a fast-paced sport. It's action-packed. It's kind of really fun to watch. I think they've done a lot of things. There used to be side outs and points and all that other stuff. Now it's kind of a quicker pace. And UCF's got a squad, Mike, including McKenna Melville, who was today named the Player of the Year. Who you mentioned Todd Dagenet. He was named the Coach of the Year in the conference. So UCF definitely has some firepower, and it'll be a fun little experience. I think it's an opportunity for everyone to kind of tune in and root on the volleyball team. Third consecutive conference title, by the way.
I can dig it. Speaking of which,
boy, here we go.
What exactly is a dig? Is that just when you stop them from when they spike it and you kind of just scoop it up?
So a dig essentially is I think dig is meant more as an action verb, right? So, and it's basically it's a hit that is supposed to be basically put away for a point, but it's sort of dug out of the ground, if you will, by the defender. So it's something that isn't your typical like pass or your typical just return. It's a more of a I want to say advanced, but it's probably a more bit of a more difficult return. How's that?
Yeah, it's when you put your hands together and you kind of put them in like a V shape, right?
Well, you always put your hands. You always put your hands together. So that's the typical passing formation. But a dig is basically like a spike that's supposed to be like just a no-brainer, and either you get really low or you kind of get out of nowhere, or you just kind of put your hands out there to defend yourself, and the ball pops up in the air. That's the technical definition, I suppose, of a dig.
All right. Cool. So we're all learning something today. Watch some volleyball and learn some new things.
Watch some volleyball, learn some new things. Again, tune in Wednesday. Again, it's a fun sport. It's an action-packed sport. So it'll definitely keep you entertained. It's high drama too, man, because these are one and done. So when it's 23-21 and UCF's got the serve, right? I mean, you shank one in the net, which UCF did a bunch on that fourth set. Those are automatic point deductions. So it definitely is high drama. If you like high drama, I think volleyball's the sport for you.
They take points away? Is that what you just said?
Well, so if I'm up 23-21, you have to go to 25, and I'm serving, and I serve into the net, it becomes a point for the other team. So basically, if you do not score on your serve, essentially, the point goes to the other team. So it's a little bit like tennis, where when you have the serve, you're technically in control in some respects. So you can control, obviously, where the serve goes. You can try to serve it to one of their weaker defenders who you don't think can control the pass, and maybe won't be able to set the offense up on the other side. So you've got a position of control. So if you hit one of those bad boys in the net, you lose a point.
Well, they get a point. You don't actually lose a point.
Well, fair. You don't get the opportunity to score the point. You give it to the other team.
Gotcha.
So they don't take one for you. Yeah, that's a good point.
As you can tell, I have not watched volleyball ever.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean,
sounds like fun.
Let's get Mike there. Let's get commitment from Mike. Wednesday, 3:30. Are you available, Mike? You can be around next Wednesday, 3:30?
3:30. Maybe I will sneak it onto my phone there while I'm at work.
Yeah, I think it's a good little work companion for everybody to tune in. So check out the volleyball team. Congrats to Coach Dagenet and the ladies for a fantastic season. Let's hope it continues to roll on, Mike. The baseball season continues to roll on. The baseball team essentially split the series with the Cows, 2-2. Now the UCF record 12-16 on the season, Mike. You said the season doesn't start till conference play begins. Conference play has begun so far, Mike. 2-2 versus the Cows.
All right, 2-2 on the road. All right, and that was after losing both games of a doubleheader on Friday. So come back to salvage the series on Saturday, split them. We'll take it. It's going to be hard to win 3 out of 4. It's going to be very hard to sweep any of these series. So you'll take 2-2 on the road. Hopefully you can win the series at home. When you get home, maybe go to 3-1, somehow pull back to 500 for the season, and compete at the top half of this conference.
Well, we have Cincinnati coming up this weekend, Mike. So back on the road again to play the Bearcats. So another great opportunity for the weekend here. But it's been consistency, and it's just winning close games and putting games away has kind of been the Achilles heel so far for the baseball squad. At least you split the series with the Cows, so the War and I 4 points at least will equal each other out. But you certainly would have liked an opportunity to at least win that series, Mike. But that's the thing about baseball; you get another chance here, and you're as good as your starting pitcher is, and we'll see what UCF has this upcoming weekend against the Bearcats. It'll be a big series.
Right. Hopefully, baseball can change in a hurry, like you said. Maybe we can get a hot streak somewhere here in conference play. That'd be nice, and get going before the conference tournament starts.
We will see. We'll keep you posted here and on the Sons of UCF Live as well, Mike. But let's take a little pause right about here. There's some other news, notes, headlines type stuff, but we're gonna do them. We're gonna do them in the game style, Mike. That's what we do around here. We play our games. You know, we love our games. So stick around. We'll do some more news and notes coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Mike and Adam, Sons of UCF. That'll move those chains. That's good enough for another UCF first down.
I know what you're thinking. You're probably all excited, Mike. I know you probably are on charge on, charge off. But we're going to switch it up this week. I don't want charge on, charge off to just take off too quickly and then we can't, rail that thing back in. So this week we're going to just do a good old-fashioned game of fill in the blank, Mike. A couple of other news, headlines, type items going on around there, so we will do fill in the blanks. Are you prepared, Mike? You have not heard these questions, so this will be a lot of fun for you live on the fly here. Are you ready to fill in the blank?
Well, I'm not prepared because, like you just said, I don't know what we're going to talk about here. It could be anything.
Yep.
But I will give myself a chance here. I'll do the best I can.
All right, Mike is always doing the best he can. You can't ask for much else, Mike. On Saturday at the open practice, there was a surprise visitor. A special visitor was there, Mike. One Mackenzie Milton was spotted in the stands. He was with Gabe Davis and some other folks and taking in the practice, which obviously makes some sense. He's pretty familiar with most of the guys on that team, Mike. But here is your fill in the blank. You ready? Yeah. Mackenzie Milton was thinking blank while he watched UCF's practice.
Oh. That should be me out there?
Okay.
You think?
The guy. You're filling the blank, buddy.
The guy bleeds black and gold. He came all the way across the country from Hawaii, started his career here. He's had so many memorable moments. You got to think he never thought that he'd be playing at a different school, and probably would have loved to have just filled his whole time here at UCF. Had one more shot. Had he known Heupel was going to be gone, would that have changed his decision at all? Probably not, from what he said about Dylan Gabriel having earned a spot and not wanting to really have to compete with him for it. But I think part of him probably has to think, man, I am a Knight. I should always have been a Knight. And maybe one day he'll admit it down the road. I don't think it's something he'll say this year. But I think somewhere in him, he's going to probably be not kicking himself, but just saying, man, what could have been if I stuck around?
Yeah, I think KZ was thinking it's good to be home while he was watching UCF practice. I think, we can certainly armchair quarterback this thing, any different way that we want. I think his decision to say, I want to go out and I want to compete, I want to play, I don't think he's ever going to regret that. I think that's the competitor in him. I think he's earned the opportunity to go and compete for an opportunity to play. I think obviously that's his goal. And you said, competing with Dylan Gabriel. I think it was more about not having to put Dylan Gabriel through a competition and versus himself. I think that was kind of the selfless act that Mackenzie made. But the early reports you're hearing out of Florida State, and again, I'm not following it super close, but a couple of guys have said Mackenzie's, continued to struggle a little bit, picking up the offense and getting acclimated. He's had some really good plays, but, still has some stuff that he's working on. And it appears, at least early on, that Jordan Travis, who was their quarterback towards the end of last year, he was, I guess, getting more reps with the ones at Florida State. Whether or not you attribute that to mean that he is the starter or not, I don't really know. But it sounds like he maybe was getting the reps with the ones, Mackenzie running with the twos, Mike. So if you tell me, when we get to August, would McKenzie rather be the backup behind Jordan Travis at Florida State or the backup behind Dylan Gabriel at UCF? At that point, I'm willing to say maybe he would say, hey, I kind of wish I could get a do-over here. But I think he wants a chance to compete. I think he knows UCF is home, and I think that's why he comes back to see the practice, because he misses those guys. He probably, it's one of those things where he probably never wanted to leave but knew he had to. But I think he was hopefully thinking it's good to be back home. A lot of Knights fans still showed him some love, the people who realized he was there, and took some photos. So it's good to see KZ back there. Good to see him with Gabe Davis having a good time. And hopefully things continue to click for him at Florida State, and he gets on the field there as well.
Yeah, I was surprised actually when I saw the picture. I guess they had their spring game last week. Is that it? He's done with practice right now up there? Or?
I don't know if they had a spring game. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when their spring game is. I think it may have just been an off day.
And he drove all the way down from Tallahassee to go see that. Just an open practice. Huh? It just shows how much he loves being down here. Maybe his family's still down here.
Well,
maybe
his mom was his mom was at the practice as well. So I don't know what their living situation is, but his mom was also there.
All right. Yeah, there's probably a bunch of other factors that go into it. And we're going to read so many things into it that we probably shouldn't. It's just a kid coming home for the weekend to see his parents or whatever. But good to see him back. I'm glad, and we'll be seeing him in the bounce house in the future plenty of times, I'm sure.
All right, number 2 for you, Mike. News broke on Monday that our former defensive coordinator, Randy Shannon, has now also decided to go to Florida State. He has joined the Seminoles as a senior defensive analyst. For those who aren't sort of familiar, teams can hire really as many analysts as you have budgets for. The reality is, though, that those guys coach, but they don't have any sort of on-field coaching role, meaning they're not supposed to be involved with the players, quote unquote. They're an analyst, and so they're not necessarily an on-field coach like Randy is used to throughout his entire career at Miami and Arkansas and Florida and UCF as well, Mike. So here's your question: Randy Shannon going to FSU to be a defensive analyst seems blank.
Unsurprising. He's been at every school there is in Florida, almost there. He's making his way around to everyone. I figured that'd be his next stop. I mean, he's been at Miami, he's been at Florida, he's been at UCF, now he's at Florida State. He hasn't been with the Cows yet, I don't think, right? Or FAU or FIU. I thought maybe one day he'd end up as the head coach down at FIU or FAU, come back down to South Florida where he's from. Those jobs are obviously not open right now, so maybe he's sticking around for a year. He'd go up to FSU, keep his name in the game, and then when something else pops up, maybe he's got one more shot at being a head coach.
Yeah, I think it seems interesting because his name had been sort of bandied about. I think he had been backdoor politicking potentially for openings like the Kansas opening that's available. So I think it must kind of signal where those opportunities are for him. So it's interesting that he took that role. Keeps him in football. I don't think Randy was a guy that was going to be going into like the media or something like that, clearly, because he didn't like to talk to the media. So yeah, it keeps him in the game, keeps him around the game, keeps his name out there. You would have thought there, to your point, could have been an opportunity for him to take a position, a role someplace. But the reality is, with Heupel leaving so late and Malzahn being hired so late, a lot of those openings had sort of dried up. So there obviously wasn't a lot of chances for him. I don't know what that salary looks like too. That's the other thing. I don't know if there's a deferment with his contract at UCF. Does that mean that he gets offset if he's making a certain amount of money, that it's offset from his contract? So maybe you take a smaller contract, still get paid, so you may get your bigger contract. I don't know. It was definitely interesting, but Randy looks like is back in the coaching game, and now to your point, on to his 4th Florida school.
Well, his title is interesting. Does that mean we still have to pay him? If he's not what is his official title again?
Senior defensive analyst.
So does that count as a coaching position? Maybe that's part of the reason why he has that position, so he can still get paid from UCF. I don't know how the whole contract thing works out.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either. I don't know how that goes as well, but maybe someone smarter than us can do some research on that. But yeah, it was interesting. I don't know if that's what we all kind of thought it would be, but that's where he ends up.
All right, good for him. Like I said, I'm not surprised to see him still land a job, and somewhere in Florida, obviously, because that's where he has all his ties, and people are very familiar with him down here.
All right, here's your third one, Mike. We just talked about this guy at the opening of the show. Mikey Keene will be the blank quarterback.
Well, I'll say he'll redshirt. I don't think he's going to be the backup. I think it's Quadri's job for now. Unless, Keene really comes out and has a really strong spring game and then has a really strong fall camp. Maybe he'll surprise some people. Maybe they'll take the red shirt off him. But I think he'll redshirt this season and maybe get into a few games here and there. But like we said, the red shirt rule, you're allowed to play 4 games. But I don't expect him to see more than that.
I put Mikey Keene will be the 3rd string quarterback, which actually could also mean a redshirt, right? Because to your point, he doesn't have to play in any games per se, but he may be able to get some run late in the game. So I'm going to say Mikey Keene, 3rd string quarterback. I guess that would have me vaulting Parker Navarro. Again, I base this solely off the fact that he had one practice that people seem to like, and I have no idea if that's actually accurate or not. But again, the reviews on this kid seem to be pretty high. Everyone seemed to really have some favorable things to say about him, Mike. So I'll go 3rd string quarterback, which to your point probably will equate to a red shirt because, as you know, you get 4 games to play, and you don't have to take the red shirt off. So 3rd string is my answer.
Yeah, it's a fair guess. We're only going off of a couple people's opinions. Who knows what Malzahn really thinks of him? And how many times has he thrown his visor after one of his passes? So we're going to have to get some more analysis. The spring game is going to be a good barometer to see how he does against live action. Are they going to be able to hit the quarterbacks, or is it just Dylan Gabriel that's going to be protected, or are the quarterbacks going to be live in spring game?
I don't think he's announced that yet. I would suspect Dylan Gabriel continues to be off limits. That's just a guess on my part, but that would be my thinking.
But Keene might be live. They may be able to hit him.
Yeah, everybody else is live. So, yeah, even in open practice, Keene and Quadri and Navarro and the other guy whose name I don't know, the walk-on. Yeah, they were all live.
All right, so let's see what he's got against a pass rush that is improving by the day.
Well, let's and you mentioned this earlier. Let's not forget, none of these guys were recruited by Gus Malzahn. We've seen him make some offers to quarterbacks out there already. Certainly, I'm sure his skill set and what he looks for in a quarterback is different than what Hypo looked for in a quarterback. Mikey Keene had some wheels on him. Certainly looks like he had a strong arm, and a little bit about the Gus quarterbacks. That's kind of what he likes, although not as big as some of the other guys that Malzahn's had. So. But none of these guys have been recruited by Malzahn, so it'll be interesting to see with Keene, with Navarro. Really, by the time I guess Quadri will be interesting to see where he's at in his career, and if Dylan's around or if he goes anywhere or declares. But none of these guys were recruited by Malzahn, so you never really know what that means.
Nope. So Malzahn's going to bring in his guys next year to compete with Mikey Keene. So he's going to have to make a big impression this year if he wants to get in line behind Gabriel.
All right, 4th one for you. Today, our friends in Tampa announced a home-and-home series with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Mike. Obviously, a 1-for-1, which got a lot of folks in our fan base talking about the fact that our schedule in the future still does not look fantastic. So, Mike, if UCF does not announce a future non-conference football opponent soon, you are going to blank.
I'm not going to do anything.
That's what I figured you'd say. Yes.
Next year's schedule is filled up, right?
It is.
Basically, we have Louisville and who else? Not Georgia Tech again, right? Who's the other game?
We have Louisville. We have Boise.
No, not 2021. The 2022. I think we have Louisville again.
Yes.
Right.
Hold on.
I want to say, was it Georgia Tech? I don't even know.
Hold on. I'm with you. I'm rocking with you. Hold on. We'll get that. I thought you wanted 2021, which I was.
So the next season that's even available is 2023, I believe. Next opening.
2022 is FIU, Louisville, and Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Georgia Tech, and then you always get that 4th game where you can put in a D2 school or whatever, FCS school, or you can add in another one of these Conference USA type schools, FAU, FIU, Georgia State, something like that. You can, but we don't know how Malzahn really wants to schedule yet. But I guess there's an opening there.
Yes.
But we saw games get scheduled 2 weeks in advance this year, so I'm not going to panic. So these guys just got here. Malzahn, Mohajer just got in the office. Let's see what he can do. I'll give him some time. I'm not going to stress out because these guys signed something. We have to sign something. I know how the UCF fan base is probably reacting to it. We got to sign something yesterday. It's just not happening that way.
2023, we have Boise and BYU on the books so far, Mike. 2024, we have BYU and the Liberty Flames on the books. 2025, we have just North Carolina on the books. 2026 looks like nothing is showing here. In 2027, we are showing Carolina again. So plenty of opportunity down the road. UCF still with some openings. People, I guess, freaking out a little bit, not only just because of who they're scheduling and what they're scheduling, all that stuff, but other teams are starting to fill up. So are we going to be left sort of holding the bag here without anybody to schedule? But obviously when the Cows pull somebody, they all get up in arms and talk about how they have such a giant stadium and blah, 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 blah. And everyone forgets that there's a completely different revenue model because we own our stadium. They rent their stadium, ticket allotments, and all that other good jazz. But I agree with you, Mike. If they, I'm going to probably do nothing, and just hope that and trust that Mohajer and Malzahn will work connections, and something will shake free. And you never know what'll happen. These games get scheduled, but then they get canceled all the time. So I guess we'll sit tight for now. Would I like to have some more future stability that I can sort of put my hat on? Sure. But I'm not going to panic just yet because I think we, to your point, need a little bit more time.
Right. Me as a fan, you can tell me 2 weeks in advance where the game is, who we're playing. I don't care. I mean, if you want to plan something, you want to plan a road trip or something, you give me a few months. That's all I really need as a fan. If I was Mohajer, he's got time to get to work, but it's not like he has to schedule 10. It's funny because people are upset that we don't have games scheduled 3 years in advance, 4 years in advance. And then when these games get announced, they're 10 years down the road. People laugh at that too. Like, oh, these kids are in fourth grade right now by the time they're playing the game. People used to go both ways with these things. I think they make a bigger deal than it needs to be.
All right, here's your fifth fill-in-the-blank question. A projected 91-degree temperature day for the spring game, Mike, is blank.
Ooh, that's hot.
That's hot. Very, very good.
That's very hot. And if there's no breeze going on and it's a noon game, the sun's going to be right in your face for most of the day. Bring your sunblock, bring your sunglasses, bring your hats with some ice cubes in there. It's going to be a tough one, man. I don't see a big crowd. Are you going to go? Do you need the tickets?
So here's
decided yet?
Yeah. So if I do, I'll be a party of two myself, and my daughter is actually interested in going. I've been trying to explain to her some of these things that will happen. Obviously, the heat and there's actual football being played, and so she's interested right now. So we are a probable for the spring game at this point. Me and the 13-year-old.
All right, but that's only 2 tickets. We have 6 tickets. You want to give out 4 of the other tickets? Or how do you want to do it?
I'm open. I mean, if someone wants, if you're listening to this and you need tickets, so where are these at, by the way? I know you're in the cabana, right?
Yeah, they're all in the cabana. We have 6 cabana seats. So, I mean, the cabana is nice, even though it is a noon game. You're going to be right under the sun. But if you do need to get cover, you can always go underneath for a little while and get a drink or go to the bathroom and relax for a little bit, get in the shade. At least you have that option in the cabana.
Well, how about this?
But,
if you're listening to this and you need or want spring game tickets, just send Mike or I a DM. First one in the DMs, and if we have the allotment that accommodates what you need, they're yours. How's that?
Yeah, sounds good. It's better than putting it out on Twitter and all that stuff. Yeah. And who knows? At least we know if you're listening to this and you want the tickets, they're yours. Just
make it simple. Put a DM in there, and again, if we have the allotment you need and it works out, then we'll make that work for you too, Mike. So, but it's gonna be a scorcher. Yeah, it's gonna be a scorcher for sure. So, bring sunblock. Bring one of those floppy hat situations. If you have a Sons of UCF hat, the lucky of you out there who have received hats from us today, you can wear one of those. But do something, bro, because it's gonna be hot.
Now, you could probably get like a press pass or something. Get Trace, hook you up, get you on the field, right? You make it exciting for your daughter.
Are they doing field stuff? I don't know what that. I don't know. There's no meet and greets. I don't assume this year. I was hoping the bookstore's open, right? I mean, I assume no.
I would think.
I would think so
too.
They
want to make some money.
Yeah, she was like,
Should be open.
maybe I get a shirt. So I mean, I'm open to pick up some gear for the wife and the kids, myself even a little bit. So yeah, I mean, we'll see if we can do it up.
What's the schedule like around the kingdom? There's got to be another game. There's always some kind of games going on. Is there a softball game on Saturday? Is there a soccer matchup? We got to look into this, right? You do something, make a full day out of it.
I'll do some
Go to the
research.
spring game, have some lunch, check out a softball game.
Yeah, there's an outside chance. We had discussed all four of us coming. My son has a soccer game. You know how I feel about his soccer team that day, and we were willing to skip it. And so the wife is still considering it. She still thinks it's not very nice to not attend a game if you've committed to it and blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to talk her out of that because the hell with that league. But so there's an outside chance. We were looking at the Celeste Hotel. Maybe we do a little overnight stay. So plans could change. Things could break late here. You never know what we'll do. I mean, we're last minute kind of people, I guess.
The new on-campus hotel, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks nice. I haven't stayed there yet. That would be cool. You don't even have to worry about driving anywhere. You can just walk all over the campus and go to the game, take a little shuttle over there if you had to. Sounds fun.
All right, I have a bonus one for you. You ready for the bonus number 6?
Sure.
It is blank that Britt is going to win the UCF Twitter Mafia March Madness tournament.
Oh, isn't it done by now?
I actually don't know if it's still going on. By the time you hear this, it'll be done. But it is blank that Britt will win the tournament.
It is great that Britt's going to win. She deserves it. She is the number one fan. She is at all these practices. She's on campus all the time. She's friendly with all the players on the team. Everybody knows who she is. I thought it was a no-brainer that she was going to win, and it's great that it's working out that way.
Yeah, it's fantastic. She's got some videos of Dylan Gabriel saying vote for Britt. She had Amari Johnson vote for Britt videos. So she obviously has pulled out all the stops here in the finals, and she is a deserving winner. So really excited and happy for Britt. I can't think of a bigger UCF fan than her. So kudos to her for the W, and I don't know what the prize is. I think if she checks her mail, she should be getting something soon from the Sons of UCF. But I don't know if there's any sort of other prizes coming your way too. But congrats to Britt. While we're talking about that quickly, Mike, you referenced it earlier. So we sent out some hats. So we had a bunch of hats made. Some people always ask us questions, Mike. So we sent out some hats today and this upcoming week to some of our longtime friends of the program here. And I say friends because it feels like a lot of these people are friends, Mike. There's just been a handful of people that have always supported us, given us feedback, listened to the show, interacted with us on social media, and just a kind of a way to repay those folks for all their support and giving us the time and believing in us, and just frankly listening to us drone on a couple hours a week about UCF. We sent out some hats today, so I'm really excited to do that, Mike. Hopefully everybody gets those soon and enjoys those, but we definitely want to thank all those folks and just let them know how much we appreciate them.
Yeah, these are VIPs of the Sons of UCF, guys that have been around since day one. Some of them have sponsored the show. Some of them have had a big part of building our brand with us, and we're happy to do it. And we got these hats for a reason. I picture just handing them out to all of our fans if we could, and then hopefully one day while I'm walking into a game at the stadium and seeing people all over the stadium wearing Sons of UCF hats, that would be awesome. But glad we're able to do it. We sent some out on Friday. People already started getting them today. More people will get them tomorrow. I was going to send out a few more today. I actually couldn't get around to it, but tomorrow I'm going to send out a few more hats. So slowly but surely, the Sons of UCF brand is growing, and it's all because of these people that have listened to us and supported us for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm seeing on social media now, Cost-Seg Advisor has his hat. He's arrived. He's got a picture with his hat. Chris Robinson, who is the guy who made the logo, right? So the hat doesn't exist. The logo doesn't exist without Chris Robinson. You mentioned JP Gilbert and a host of others. So check your mailbox. You never know when you'll get a surprise gift from the Sons of UCF, Mike. And speaking of gifts, my friend, you have probably given UCF one of the biggest gifts of the last couple of months. that anyone's had. And that's this March Madness Best Play tournament you've put together. We're now down to our final matchup, which is probably all but over at this point. I don't know if you want to announce that officially on the show. But not only have you stuck into it, my friend, and you've made videos for every single one of these, and then people have had a chance to look and watch and reminisce and vote. So many people are enjoying seeing some of these memories again for the first time in a long time, and I've really appreciated it. Then you put together kind of your one shining moment, which is a highlight reel of the majority of the plays. I know you can't get all of them in there just because the song wasn't as long as we needed it to be. But again, you should be commended, my friend, for pulling off this tournament. And we're down to obviously the final game here. It's been a real treat, man. So kudos, definitely much congratulations to you for all the hard work and everything you put into it.
Thank you, man. Like I've said many times already, it's been fun for me. I really enjoyed doing it. I don't know what I'm going to do with all my extra spare time now, because doing the videos really wasn't bad, but actually posting the polls on Twitter and in the dungeon took a little bit of time, and it was a good time, man. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. Making the One Shining Moment video was awesome for me too. I feel bad because I could only use about 30 of the plays of the 64 plays. The song is not long enough. I wish that song was another 3 minutes. We could have got all the plays in there. I've thought about just making a second video with the other plays because I don't know. It's just a fun thing for me to do. So maybe stay tuned. Maybe one day that'll come out, or maybe I'll just make a different video with a different song. Who knows? But yeah, it's been a great time. And we all knew when the thing started who was going to win this play, win the whole tournament. And it was the Mike Hughes reservation for 6 in the Cabanas against the Cows on Black Friday. That probably wasn't really in question. He won comfortably in the finals. He won comfortably in every round he was in. But just seeing all the other plays brought back a lot of great memories. And I'm glad I was able to do it for everybody. And who knows? Next season, I don't think we're going to do the same thing again. I don't think it's something you can do every year, obviously, because a lot of the same plays are going to be advancing. So we'll come up with a new idea next year and see where it goes. Because I heard you on the live show the other day with Trace, you saying that was a one-hit wonder. I'm never doing this thing again.
You heard that, did you?
Give me a year to recoup.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I know you. Else. I know you. You'll like we've done this 1,000 times. Where we had this great idea, and then we're like, let's do this thing, and then we're like, did you do that? You're like, me either. So you check back 11 months. Mike has time to recharge the batteries, get some more IPAs working there, get the creative juices flowing. But if you're scoring at home, at least on Twitter, Mike Hughes, 74% of the vote to 26, just about 600 votes on the Twitter side. So Mike Hughes, as expected, the overall number 1 seed, does come out on top with the victory. So again, that was a lot of fun, Mike, and big kudos to you for putting all that together. And yeah, you never know what'll happen next. You never know.
Remember we were in college, we used to make brackets for everything. Every time March Madness came around, the 64 greatest video games, or the 64 greatest whatever. And we always come up with something and try to make brackets of it. So it's something fun to do. And who knows what next year's thing is. Maybe next year I'll have an NIT and a CBI to go along with it, because there's too many. There were too many plays this year. I had to cut out a bunch, and people are always. I guess you could never make everybody happy. People are still upset about this play wasn't included. I'm still getting a message from a former player, one of our friends that's actually been on the show, a little upset about some of the plays that weren't in there. So you can never make anybody happy, but most people enjoyed it, so that's all that really matters.
All right. Well, speaking of former players, Mike, a great one is on the show with us tonight. And like you mentioned off the top, he was fantastic to talk to. So sit tight. We're going to take a little commercial situation here. But right after that, we're going to catch up with Torell Troup, only on the Suns UCF.
Who are the Suns talking to this week? Let's find out.
Oh, we've had some pretty big people on the show, both name and stature. I'm not sure if there's any bigger actual stature individual we've had on other than the guy that we have on right now. He finished his UCF career with 105 tackles. He was a two-time second-team All-Conference Conference USA player, and one of the biggest guys, one of the best names for our former PA guy to yell. Mike, you want to give us a replication of his name?
True.
It is the one and only Torell Troup is joining us on the show. Torell, first off, man, thank you for taking some time to join us on the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to be on for sure.
Awesome. We are excited to have you on. And in doing some research, I found a couple of fun facts about you I did not know. And I'll start my first question with one of those facts. Obviously, you were a big kid probably growing up, but you didn't play football until you got to high school. How did they keep you off the gridiron for so long?
Oh man, my mom didn't really want us playing physical sports. When I got to high school, my dad wasn't having it anymore. He said, "You're either going to play sports or you're going to get a job." And first, I went and got a job. I'm in ninth grade. I'm working at McDonald's. And I hated it so much. So I went back to school and begged the football coach, because they had already been to camp and did all those things. I begged him to let me play. And he let me on the team, and it started from there. And in ninth grade, playing football for the first time, and the first time I stepped on the field, I felt like I was at home.
Well, obviously getting a later start probably, I mean, you had a ton to learn throughout your high school career, but it sounds like you did pretty good for yourself. And then comes time to maybe think about going to college, and UCF somehow gets on your radar. How does a kid from Georgia end up all the way down in Orlando playing for UCF? Tell us that story.
Well, I had some big name schools recruiting me, and I was thinking about going that way. But my high school coach wanted me to be around somebody that I was familiar with, which I understood. He had a great relationship with Coach O'Leary, and another player from my high school, Jason Williams. He started as a running back at UCF, was already down there, and he told me how it was. He was like, I should come down there and visit. And when I did, I took all my visits, and I came down to UCF and took my visit. And I was like, man, I got to come here. Like, it's so nice. It's February, I think it was January or February. It was still warm out. I was like, I got to come down here.
All right, tell us, what's Coach George O'Leary like as a recruiter? Obviously, we've seen him in the media. Mike and I have actually had him on a few times. He's actually a really nice guy, really funny guy, but obviously you guys as players saw a different side of him. But tell us about George O'Leary, the recruiter. What was he like trying to convince you to come to UCF?
It honestly wasn't hard for him. It wasn't hard for him. I felt like he told the truth. He said if I work my butt off, I can get on the field as fast as I wanted to. He was just a no-nonsense guy, and he reminded me of my high school coach in that aspect, and I felt so comfortable with him. And me and him have had a great relationship over the years. So it just felt like the right thing to do.
Well, he did get you on the field pretty quick. You played as a freshman a good amount, but
Yeah.
you came in at what? Do I have this right? 365 pounds your freshman year?
Yes, I was. I was 365 pounds. And here in Georgia, we played 3-down linemen. So I was a nose tackle. I was taking on doubles and triple teams. And that's what I did. And when I got to UCF, I actually went into camp, hurt my knee, and they wanted to redshirt me. And I went to Coach O'Leary, and we sat down and had a conversation. He said, I will give you 3 to 4 weeks. If you're back in 3 to 4 weeks after your surgery, I will not redshirt you. I worked my butt off to get back so that I would not be redshirted, because my whole goal was to play as a freshman, and it worked out for me.
Did he have any opinions on your weight at the time? Did he think you were too heavy? Did he tell you to cut down a little?
So my freshman year, he didn't say anything about my weight. He just wanted me to get accustomed to the speed and the physicality of college football. After my freshman year, me and him sat down again, and he had a brutally honest conversation with me. He said that I think you're very talented. I think that you can be a big part of our team, but you have to lose some weight. You got to be able to move fast. You got to move laterally. And he said, I can see you doing that. And when we had that conversation, I took it to heart, and I worked my butt off. I mean, I would go in the morning to work out with the team. I would go to class, and I would go to the campus gym and work out at night by myself. And usually I would jog there and work out and jog home. And the weight just started to fall off.
Where were you living then? How far away from campus or from the gym?
I actually was living on campus, but I think it was like a 1.5-mile jog. So, and then I would take the long way home. So it would be right around 3 miles, 1.5 miles there, a little bit over a 1.5 miles back. So it'll be like a 3-mile jog. And I did that, man. I did that like 4 or 5 times a week. People didn't even know I was doing it. Like the coaches didn't even know I was doing it until they was like, okay, what are you doing? Because you're losing weight fast. You're still strong. And I just had to break it down to them. They didn't like the aspect of me running out on the concrete, but they understood that I wanted it and I wanted to work for it, and they were okay with it.
So what was the biggest difference when you got to college? Was it just the speed of the game?
The speed, yeah, just the speed. I was already a strong kid. When I came in the UCF, it was probably Josh Fitton was probably the only person that was stronger than me, and I was very close to him already. Right, so pretty much just the speed.
Well, at the end of your freshman year, obviously, as Mike said, you played a bunch. But coming into your sophomore year, as you were thinking about your sophomore year, obviously, getting your conditioning into the spot where George O'Leary wanted it was one of your goals. What were some of your goals going into your second year? Were you, were there things that you kind of realized as a freshman that you said to yourself, okay, I got to get this stuff kind of cleaned up, or I gotta get better in this area going into your second season?
Pad level, conditioning. And like we already talked about, my weight, we had to get that under control, which wasn't really a hard thing to do when you're living on campus and you're with the coaching staff, and they're preparing your meals for you. They tell you how to eat, what you should and shouldn't be eating. All you have to do is just follow the program, and I've been very good at always following instructions, so it wasn't really hard for me. And going into my second year, there were some coaching changes, and I got a defensive line coach that really believed in me, Coach Panagos. And having him in the room with me, and him being a former NFL guy and knowing what I needed to do really helped me. And he set goals for me too. He told me how he wanted me to play, what I needed to do, and I just kind of took it and ran with it.
You mentioned something we hear a lot, especially right now with draft time. You mentioned pad level. Can you explain what pad level means, and then sort of how do you work on that? How do you get better? How do you improve at your pad level?
Okay, so my personal belief is either you have it or you don't. And it all starts with your hips. So when you start off in your 3-point stance and you're firing off the ball, is how low are you coming? How low are you striking your opponent out of your stance with that good pad level and driving your knees and being able to push that guy back? I've always had pretty decent pad level, but losing that weight made me more flexible, which made it a lot easier to get up under guys, and made it easier to tack off the ball.
Well, that 07 season, we start with the new opening of the on-campus stadium, which Mike and I went to school there in 98 to 02, so we weren't able to go to that stadium when we weren't there. We had to go all the way to the Citrus Bowl, and so how big or how pumped up were you guys as a team in 07 to finally have an on-campus stadium? How big a deal was that to you and your teammates?
Man, that was super big. I played my freshman year, and I played some games at the Citrus Bowl. Didn't really care for it. I'm not gonna lie, didn't really care for it. So when we got that stadium on campus, it just felt like an energy around us. We were so pumped. And I remember our first game against Texas, and man, when I tell you, we were in the locker room so hyped, so ready to go. Coach O'Leary had to tell us to chill out a little bit because it ended up raining, which made it a little delay in the game, and guys are still so pumped. It was amazing. And to have the crowd, that close to you. I felt like when we were at the Citrus Bowl, a lot of people didn't come. But in that smaller, I don't know if the stadium was technically smaller, but it felt like the whole place was just rocking.
Yeah, that Texas game, I mean, it was we were in that game. We had it, I think. We could have actually won.
We did.
How, yeah, we were just talking to Sharif the other day, and some of the plays that got away from us. I always bring up the Lawrence Young dropped interception that he could have ran back.
Right.
Fumble on the sideline, Kyle Israel. Just one play here or there, and we win that game.
Yeah.
I know you guys really wanted it bad. What was the feeling in the locker room after that one?
Well, after or before?
After we lost.
We were disappointed, but we knew we played really well, and we knew we were going to have a special season, and we had to stick with it. We had been through a lot. Camp was really hard that year. I definitely remember camp being super hard that year. But we knew we were going to be special, and we had Kevin on offense, and we felt like we had, as a unit, we felt like we were the best defensive unit in the country, and we were trying to prove it. And we were going to do whatever we needed to do to prove that.
We saw it right in the first game of the season at NC State. We saw the potential the team had.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know right away then that the team was going to be that good?
No, we didn't know it was going to be that good, but I think Kevin broke a long one. I think
first play of the game.
First play of the game. And that got everybody so pumped and everybody was so ready. After that point, it felt like it just carried us. Right? Kevin was a very big part of that team, and the morale and the energy, a lot of it came from Kevin.
How hard was it going up against him in practice? Like, in the camp leading up to the season? Was he a beast in practice like that too?
Yeah, very shifty. He kept you on your toes. If I got in the backfield and I let him put that plant foot in the ground, and he'd shift out, and you would miss the whole tackle. So it definitely was a challenge going against him. And that offensive line was a really good offensive line, and I felt like playing those guys at a young age really helped me develop faster. So when I went against other guys, I didn't feel like they were that great because I felt like I had already been against some of the best guys.
Well, that season ends with you guys holding up a championship trophy, which is something that every football player, every athlete strives for. Take us to that moment. What was it like when you guys are on the field holding up that trophy as conference champs?
Man, it was very exciting, man, because all of the work that we had done, all of the hours that we had put in had paid off, and we were so close as a team. And we enjoyed being around each other, and it wasn't a lot of squabbling amongst us. So just to be able to bring home that championship felt so great.
How about after the game? So we saw the celebration on the field. Take us off the field. What's the celebration like after the game? You guys all go out afterwards and hang out. Was it like business as usual because you guys knew you had one more game? Was O'Leary kind of sniffing around and you guys had to be careful? What was the after party like?
Coach O'Leary always told us to be aware of our surroundings, but he let us have our moment. He gave us our 24 hours to do whatever we wanted, have our fun, and it was back to work. And we treated leading into that next game just like camp. We started all over again, so it was back to being brutal again, getting us ready for the next game. So.
Were you guys as a team? Was it did defensive guys hang out with defensive guys off the field? Was there kind of offensive guys and defensive guys hanging out? What was the kind of the cruise like?
You know what? Honestly, I feel like everybody hanged out with everybody. Like we all kind of position wise live with each other for the most part because we all stayed in the athlete dorm rooms for the most part, other than the older guys. But when it came down to hanging out, we all hung out. Like we all would go to certain places and hang out together. It was never just no certain cliques here and there, and none of that.
The Liberty Bowl, that was another tough one. That you guys played great defense that night, and it was freezing cold. What do you remember about that game?
That it was freezing cold. I remember it was freezing cold, but it was a physical game up front, and I loved every bit of it. And we didn't come out with the W, but it was a very fun game. It was a very physical and fun game, and that was like the more physical they were, the more I liked them. So.
Now you think you were cold? At least you were running around on the field. They had me up in row like 98, of the bowl. I was freezing up there. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
All right, so going into 2008, I don't know what happened to the team that season. We're coming off the championship run. I'm thinking the team's getting better every year, and we get off to a rough start, and things kind of go downhill. What do you think was the difference from going from 07 to 08?
We were mentally burnt out. Honestly, I feel like as a team, as a whole team, we were mentally and kind of physically burnt out. And, like I said, I love the physicality of football, but I feel like in some aspects we might have overdone it that year going into that year. And I feel like it kind of caught up to us mentally and physically.
Is it the way maybe coach ran the practices? You feel beat up during the weeks going into those games, or?
Yeah, I mean, the practices were always physical, but, a football team is only going to be as good as the senior class. And if your senior class is tired and beat down and they've been doing this for 4 years and they know they're on their way out the door, it kind of trickles down. And I felt like, not that they didn't do a good job, but you could just tell that some guys were kind of checked out, and it wasn't going to be a great year. Like, it was just a up and down battle.
You personally had a pretty good year in 2008. 12 and a half tackles for loss. How did you balance that? Like, you're playing well, but the team's not playing well. How does that mess with your head a little?
Me personally, it didn't, because again, I sat down with Coach O'Leary before the season started, and we had our conversations, and he told me that, Torell, you're at a point now where you have to figure out, do you want the next level? He said, you got all the talent in the world. He said, you can go there. You got to take that next step. He was like, you have to treat this like a business, and you have to approach every day like that. And I took that to heart again, because like I said, Coach O'Leary has always had the best intentions for me as a player and as a person. And when he told me that, something clicked with me, and I approached every day, every practice, rehab, a game. I treated it like a business, and I was going to put my best foot forward no matter what the score was. I didn't care. I was going to fight and do what I needed to do to help the team win and to help myself.
Well, you mentioned senior class, so going into that 09 season, that's you, right? You're that senior class. You're a team captain. Obviously, seeing maybe what you saw in 2008, what are the things that you did or said, or how did you kind of get the tempo started for the team as you kind of took the reins as a senior leader in 2009? What was your message to the rest of your team?
Well, I wasn't a very vocal guy. I try to lead by my actions, and I feel like I had some great singers with me. Like Travis Timmons, Bruce was a red shirt, but still technically kind of like a senior, and Jarvis Gathers and other guys that I felt like helped keep the team motivated. Like, everything was a competition for us going into our senior year. Who's the strongest? Who's the fastest? Who's going to have more tackles? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? And it was a very friendly competition. But at the same time, we pushed each other so hard that everybody else was like, okay, I want some of that too. Like, I want to compete. I want to see if I can be better than the next guy. And it started in the off-season workouts, because the strength coaches kind of changed the program around and made everything more of a competition instead of just lifting weights. And it really helped us. I feel like it really kept us motivated and kept pushing us.
You mentioned Bruce Miller. He's a guy, obviously, that had a really good UCF career and went on to do some things in the NFL as well. What kind of teammate and what kind of player was Bruce Miller? What was it like to go up, into battle with him every week?
I love Bruce. Bruce is one of my favorite guys. We actually lived together too, so we were very close. We lived right next door to each other. We might not have always agreed on each other and the way that we lived, but on the field and in the weight room, we always pushed each other and got the best out of each other. I love Bruce. I love his family. I still talk to Bruce when he's around, because I live in Atlanta, so I still talk to Bruce when he's around. Just a great guy. Bruce has always been a great guy. He just kind of ran into some bad luck, but he's a phenomenal guy, and he comes from a great family.
Wait, so hold on. It sounds like there's a bad roommate story there. Was Bruce a messy roommate? Was he leaving dishes in the sink?
Yeah. Bruce was a messy roommate, and he knows that. Bruce was a messy roommate. That's the only thing me and Bruce ever fought over was his messy room. His room was so messy. He used to be so comfortable in it. It used to freak me out.
Oh, so when he got out of line, were you wrestling him? Were you pinning him? How did that work out?
No, nothing like that. But we had some heated exchanges a couple times in the room.
Did you guys have a third roommate?
Like an old married couple.
Did you have a third? Was it just you two? Was there a third roommate that you had to referee you guys?
It was actually four of us. So it was me, Blake. At one time, it was Blake Carter, but he graduated, so it was for Sharif. You guys just had him on, and then Jarvis Gathers. And Sharif is a neat freak. Like everything in his room has to be a certain way. I used to mess with him. Like I would go in his room and move one thing in his room, one small thing, and he would always notice. Like even I'll move a bottle cap and he would notice. That's how neat he was. So it was always a battle with Bruce because he just did anything.
Oh, Bruce must have drove him nuts.
Yep.
So when did you start noticing the whole Troup on the loudspeaker? Did you notice it right away? Do you remember the first time that happened in the stadium?
I honestly don't remember it. I don't remember it, and I don't know. I don't remember when it started, but I love when I heard it. So.
Yeah, because not everybody on the team has one of those.
For sure.
You got one.
Yeah.
Even up till now, there's not many guys that have a special thing like that. So that's got to be cool.
Yeah, it was definitely cool. It was definitely cool.
One of the more memorable games of that senior season, talking about Bruce, was that comeback win against Marshall. That game was over. We had basically no right to win that game. And then Bruce strips the ball free. We make a crazy comeback. They leave Rocky Ross wide open in the end zone.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the end of that game?
Man, we were so hyped. We were so hyped and so tired with emotion and the up and down of it, man. We were so happy to pull it out. Every game can't go your way, unfortunately, but we kind of squeezed that one out, and it felt so good.
You guys kind of view Marshall as a rival back then, because they were pretty much our biggest rival at the time.
Maybe not really. We hated the guys from ECU.
Yeah.
I played in the league with a couple of those guys, and they hated us just as much as we hated them. So definitely, I feel like personally, ECU was one of the bitter rival games to us.
Yeah, I don't think we beat ECU the whole time you were there, right? That we lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, I don't think we did, man. I think that's one of the ones we never was able to get.
Yeah, we broke through against them in 2010, the next year.
Yeah.
And the same thing with South Florida. So South Florida, but they didn't play us in 2009. We played the 4 years before that, and then they canceled the series.
Yeah.
You guys mad? You wanted one more shot at them, right?
Yeah, we definitely did, and we were very disappointed about it not being able to play them anymore. So.
Yeah, which one of those losses hurt the most? I mean, in 2007, they beat the doors off us 64-12. But in 2008, I think that one hurts more. Overtime, we make the crazy comeback and then lose. They stop us on 4th and 1. Which one hurts you more today?
The beat down that we took there. That was brutal. Everybody got cussed out for that loss. Coach O'Leary let everybody hear it for that one. We worked extra hard after that game, man. That was a bad loss, and I don't know what it was. I felt like we were prepared for the game, but once the game started, it got out of hand, and we could never catch up or do anything with them.
Well, I'm still trying to block that day out of my head.
I actually asked Sharif. I just said, "Hey, what does 64-12 mean to you?" And he drew a blank. And I reminded him it was the score, and he was like, "Oh man, why you got to do that?" I think he literally had blocked out that happened to him.
Blocked that game out. I'm sure he did.
Yeah. Well, that season ends, and for the second straight year, you got snubbed, right? You mentioned earlier you took on a lot of double teams and probably freed up some lanes from some of your teammates, but you got snubbed again for our conference honors. And I thought it was really interesting that, reading the comments back now, Coach O'Leary was really upset about that, and had some really pointed comments about coaches not really watching film and not really understanding who's a good player and just going off of stats. Obviously, we know Coach O'Leary to be kind of that hard-ass guy, right? The guy who's going to your point, cuss everybody out after a loss. But for you personally, how cool is it that he had your back like that, and you knew he supported you and went to bat for you and was kind of so vocal about how much you meant to the team and how well you played?
It was very big for me, man. Like I said, Coach O'Leary has always been honest with me, brutally honest with me, and I've always taken it to heart and took everything he said with a grain of salt, and knowing that it's going to make me better. And I did feel like I got snubbed a lot, At one point, I felt like I was doing all of the dirty work, and I wasn't getting any recognition for it, but I wasn't mad about it because it was helping us as a team. It was helping Bruce get off. It was helping Jarvis and other guys make plays. So I wasn't mad about it. It's just, sometimes you want that recognition too. Like, I'm just as good as anybody else in the conference. So me personally, I feel like I'm better than anybody in the conference because I worked hard. So, it's nice to have Coach O'Leary stand up for me. And, I feel like a big reason I got drafted so early was because of Coach O'Leary standing up for me and saying what type of guy I was and my work ethic and things like that.
Well, you mentioned the drafting part, so take us to that day, right? So a kid who just to your point earlier, just walks in freshman year and wants to play football, to hearing your name called in the second round of the NFL draft. Take us to those emotions when you heard Buffalo selects Torell Troup.
It was crazy. I didn't even get to hear it because I was on the way to eat with my family, and we were going to watch it on TV. And by the time we got there, they had already selected me. So I didn't really get to see it. But it was a great feeling because I felt like all my work, all my hard work and dedication that I gave to the sport and to UCF paid off. I felt like I was overlooked a lot. And just to be able to be drafted in the second round felt like a big win for me. Like somebody recognized what I've done this past 4 years and was willing to take a chance on me.
Wait, so did you have no clue back then were teams not kind of tipping you off that maybe you'd go that early? Was that a legit surprise that you got picked that early?
I honestly thought either the Ravens or the Patriots were going to take me. I really thought the Patriots were going to take me. I had a bunch of talks with Bill Belichick, me, Bill, and Coach O'Leary. Sat down a lot, talk X's and O's, talk family, and I was really hoping that I was going to be drafted by the Patriots because I've seen so much of Belichick and Coach O'Leary being similar, and I wanted to play for somebody that I had already felt like I was comfortable with.
What's that like being in a room with Belichick and O'Leary? That's got to be an interesting dynamic between those two.
Oh man, you're talking about two guys that don't back down. You're not going to back down from each other. I was just kind of sitting there like a fly on the wall and answer questions when I'm asked. But it was some great meetings, and I didn't get a chance to be drafted by them, but I was still very happy.
You get a chance to follow UCF a lot today?
Yeah, I
watch a lot of the games.
I still watch a lot of the games. I watch the games all the time. Disappointing last season, but I like the hire that we made. We got some old UCF guys back in the building, which is going to be cool. I'm going to try to make it down for the spring game. Hopefully, I can get down there. But yeah, I keep up with the team. I know what's going on. I don't know a lot of the guys personally, but, I know them as the offense and the defense and where we need to be better at. So, yeah.
Well, you're a Georgia guy. Were you able to go to the Peach Bowl a couple of years ago?
No, I actually didn't go because I had hurt my back again. So I was kind of down when they were here. I didn't get to go to the game. I couldn't sit in the stands. My back wouldn't let me.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta imagine you gotta get a suite to be comfortable at those games, right? Because only the regular seats. I mean, they're tight for me, and I'm not that big of a guy.
Right.
So you like the way that have the new staff? Have they been in contact with you? Because some of the guys have said that the last couple coaching staffs didn't really include the former players much, but I hear now that they're opening a lot more up to the former players. Have anybody at UCF been in contact with you in the last couple weeks, months?
Yeah, I've been in contact with a couple of the older guys that I know that I played with that's down there now, and they gave, well, not gave, but Kareem Reed played with me my rookie year, and he's on the staff now. And I think that's a great hire because Kareem has been in high school football for a long time. He turned the program around down in South Florida, and he came up here and was coaching, and he had some great coaching stops here in Georgia. So he's going to know the kids that are coming up and coming out, and he's going to know what to look for. So I think that was a great hire by them. And I have heard the same thing that the staff is more willing to let the older guys come back and hang around and talk to the guys and things like that. So, I kind of stayed away too for a little while. They didn't retain one of my, I want to say, good friends, Thad Rivers. I think he's at, I want to say he's at Ole Miss now, and I kind of felt the way about that because if I needed to do anything with UCF, I knew to call him, and he would get it done. And a lot of the other guys felt that way, and I felt like them not retaining him kind of made guys step away from the program.
Well, Manny's still there, though. You keep in touch with Manny, right?
Yeah, I talk to Manny every once in a while, but Thad was a little younger, and he worked in the equipment room. He was a little younger and, just a little more hip to us and what we wanted and things like that. So it was a big disappointment that they just let him walk.
Yeah, I think it was a lot younger. By the way, I love Manny. I love Manny to death, but Thad's certainly a lot younger than Manny. But it's definitely been cool to see some of the guys back around practice, and hopefully, if you're going to be at the spring game this weekend, hopefully you'll get a chance to meet some of the guys. But it's been cool on social media to see some of the guys back out there and being a part of the staff again. And hopefully we'll get a chance to see good old Torell Troup down there again. But before we let you go, we always end every interview around here with some sort of rapid fire questions. These could be random questions about music, about movies, about sports, life, and anything at all. So here's my first question, and this is a true or false question for you, right? So true or false, you let UCF misspell your first name for your entire career at UCF. Is that true?
Yep.
Were you ever thinking at one point, like, hey, maybe I should tell him there's not two R's and Torell, or you just figured, hey, I'll keep it moving, not a big deal?
It wasn't inside the program. It was the media outside the program. So the coaches and everybody knew how to spell my name. It was just the media outside there, and I didn't really care. I wasn't looking for individual attention. I just wanted to play football. I didn't really care what they did. Like my name change, I was technically already Troup when I had got to college, but I still went by Torell Johnson my first year. So,
How much do you squat? What's the most you ever squatted? Was it in the college or in the pros or what?
No, it was in college. I had held the record for the longest time. I think it was like 620 pounds. I don't know if anybody ever ended up beating that record or not. But yeah, I was 620 pounds.
I'm not sure if Tristan Hill ever got there. I think he would have been your closest competitor. But 620, that's a ridiculous amount of weight.
Yeah.
All right, you said you worked at McDonald's. Obviously, you were a big guy. So what's your McDonald's record? I mean, how many Big Macs do you think were you taking down back in your heyday? How many chicken nuggets were you taking down back in your heyday? What are the stats on the McDonald's?
So I used to love Big Macs, but once I worked at McDonald's, from then to now I might have ate McDonald's one time. Working there every day, smelling like French fries. I was too young to actually work the grill, so all I could do was dip fries and work the cash register. But just smelling that food all the time made it to the point where I can't eat that. There's no way I can eat that food.
You mentioned some of your former teammates already. Who was the best dancer out of all you guys?
Bruce Miller.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like super serious. Bruce was definitely the best dancer.
What was his go-to move? Did he do the robot?
He knew every dance at that point in time. You know, all the dances from Atlanta, the Memphis dances. He just knew everything. He knew how to do everything. I'm sure he still do.
We learned on the show, one of the very first episodes we did, we learned on the show Justin Holman, who was a quarterback, graduated in 16 rather, let it slip that George O'Leary was known as the White Horse. And we think we traced back the origin to right around the time that you were probably at UCF. It's somewhere between Kareem Reed and Frisner and Nelson, apparently, as the beginning of the White Horse. Were you aware of the White Horse nickname, and do you know how it started? Do you have any official information you can provide us on how George became known as the White Horse?
Honestly, I never heard of that nickname, so I don't know. I've never heard of it. I've heard of some nicknames, but never that.
Do you have any nicknames better than the White Horse that you can share on the air here?
Oh, no, I do not. I'm going to keep my mouth closed on that one.
Well, it's crazy. Around that time, some guys said they never heard of it, but some guys said it was definitely going on back then, too.
Yeah, the story obviously is if you guys were in study hall or in the weight room and maybe just taking it easy or goofing around, and he came in, everyone started going, White Horse, White Horse, White Horse, and everyone just kind of knew that was your cue to straighten up and to get back on whatever you're doing. But
sure.
Definitely the guys from like 10 to like 14, 15, they knew it really well. So whoever passed it down did a really nice job. But we had both. Kareem told us it was Frisner. Frisner kind of took credit for it, but then his story on how he came up with it was a little bit sketchy. So we've always been curious how the White Horse name came to be.
You talking about that's two of the UCF biggest characters right there that you just named. So I wouldn't be surprised if it started with one of those guys.
All right, who's got the coolest name? We talked about how cool your name is to say. Which one of your teammates' names or nicknames did you like the most?
Man. I don't know. That's a tough one, man.
Nobody had any other funky nicknames? That we're just talking about the White Horse. Is there another one just for a player that we don't know about?
No, not really. No.
You call Bruce a slob or anything?
No. No, nothing like that. I don't really think he had many nicknames like that. I'm sorry. I don't really. Only nickname I you know what? One of our defensive coaches, Coach Collins, and I love Coach Collins. Coach Collins used to call me T Squared, and I used to love that nickname that he used to call me.
You talking about Jeff Collins, who was at Georgia Tech now?
Yep. He's at Georgia Tech now. He used to call me T Squared. He was a cool guy. I'm glad that he ended up at Georgia Tech. I'm trying to get over there and see him. He's been a little bit busy, but I want to get over there.
Well, you had to go up against the offensive line every day in practice, right? So who was the offensive lineman that you hated going up against? That when this guy lined up across from your practice, you were like, oh man, here we go again.
Oh, I'm gonna be totally honest. No one ever. Like when I was a freshman, I wanted to line up against Josh Sitton. When I was any other year, I didn't care who it was. I was gonna dominate whoever it was.
Did you ever, obviously, you being a sort of a pass rusher, right? Someone who's supposed to get in the backfield. Did you ever hit a quarterback or running back so hard that you felt bad for him?
No, never. If I could, I'd lay on him and wouldn't get up. Never.
We just ran a bracket tournament of the greatest plays in UCF history. Mm-hmm. What would you say is the greatest play you were involved in while you were there?
That I was involved in personally?
Or just as the greatest play that happened in the years that you were there?
Smith, NC State was the greatest play ever for me as a team. My greatest play was I think it might have been senior year. Who did we play? It wasn't Houston. I made the tackle in the backfield on the first play of the game, but I can't think of who it was. And the crowd erupted. But I can't think of who it was. Honestly, I can't think of it now. But it was a pretty cool moment because it was at home with the UCF fans, and it was right there in front of the student section, so everybody was hyped.
Yeah, it could have been 13. In 2009, we played Houston at home. They were number 13. You're credited with a tackle for loss in that game. So
it might have been that. It might have been that. It was actually on the front page of the paper too.
Because that was our Houston was ranked 13 that night, so that was one of our. I guess that was our first win against a ranked opponent at home. So that definitely was a big game for UCF back then.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I hated playing. That's another thing. I hated playing Houston. That up tempo offense. Man, that is the most brutal football you could play. Playing 100 snaps a game on one side of the ball is tough.
Well, how ironic is it that's UCF's offense now? Does that give you kind of?
I'd be feeling bad. We played Houston one year at home. It might have been the same game. Darius Nall was lined up to the right side of me, and they're up tempo, and Darius was like, "Man, I cannot breathe." He was like, "I'm about to throw up." I said, "Bro, you better throw up on your side of the field. Don't throw up on my side of the field." And he literally threw up, and they was about to run a play. He stuck his head in it to get down to this 3-point stand so that he could pass rush. It was so disgusting.
But the way UCF was running their offense the last couple of years, it was like you're saying, it's tough for the other team, but it's tough on our own defense because the offense was only out there for a minute at a time. Then you guys got to run back out there. Would you have liked to have an offense like that, or you kind of like the way we are in it?
No, I like the offense that we ran because it gave you a chance to catch your breath. With these up-tempo offense, like you said, it puts a lot of strain on the defense. And, you don't have the time to adjust because you got 2 minutes. You're tired. You're breathing hard. You're not paying attention to what the coach is saying. You're trying to catch your breath before you have to go back out there again. I mean, it's fun football to watch, but it's not fun to be on that side, on the opposite side of the ball of that.
What's your stance on faking injuries? So UCF's seen that a bunch. So obviously you're a competitor, right? I'm sure you always want to compete and you always want to, kind of give your all, never give up. But you just said sometimes things get tired. What's your stance on guys kind of dropping to the ground on defense, faking an injury to slow down the offense?
I'm all for it, man. Whatever you need to do to get you a little breath, I'm okay with it.
Awesome.
O'Leary, ever have you guys do that? Like you were going up against Houston, did you guys ever pull that trick?
Yep, we sure did. Yeah, we sure did. Everybody uses that trick, and there's nothing wrong with it. Man. You got to slow them down sometimes. At some point, it doesn't even feel like you're playing football anymore, which makes it hard because it's so fast and going so fast that you start to forget the little things, and that's why those offenses work because you start to lose technique. You start to forget what your job is. You're thinking about, okay, what play are we running now? We just ran this play 2 plays ago and this and that. And that's why those offenses are so effective. Because you're just wearing out the other side of the ball until they make a mistake. So
well, Torell, it's been a real pleasure, man, catching up with you. It's been a lot of fun, and we appreciate you taking some time to walk us down memory lane. Obviously, you're one of the all-time great nights, and I know Mike and I look forward to hopefully maybe someday soon we see a picture of you and social media down there at practice and hanging out with the guys and getting back on campus. But we appreciate you for taking the time to join us, man, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys having me on. Anytime you want to do it again. I got some more stories I can drop for you, so just let me know. Oh,
we'll get you a recurring character. Yeah, we'll get you on here again for sure. We love a good story.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, man. Charge on.
All right, bye-bye.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each week for unique yet common sense opinions on sports on the Jeff Allen Sports Talk Podcast. We will break down the sports world minus the hot takes with prominent guests and my stable of sports guys. It's sports conversation the way it should be. Search Jeff Allen Sports Talk wherever you get your podcasts or go to jeffallensportstalk.com.
There are cows among us. Adam and Mike will tell you who.
All right, cows will be pasteurizing for a moment here, Mike, while we talk about Torell Troup. Fantastic to catch up with him. Up until this last couple of years, Mike, he was one of the highest draft picks UCF had ever had behind Dante, obviously with Blake and then and Mike Hughes. That's been usurped, but he was definitely a name that if you saw him play, just a huge physical guy. His stats might not be eye-popping, but I think it's interesting. One of the things that I was reading up about him is that, how many double teams he took on and how many times he sort of shed the block, if you will, for a linebacker or somebody else. And overall, what a nice guy. So Torell Troup, fantastic to have him on the show.
Well, that's the thing we mentioned with O'Leary. People that watch the film and know what they're looking at know the impact that this guy had on the games. Just because he didn't have 20 sacks doesn't mean he wasn't a big part of that defense and freeing up guys for like Bruce Miller to go in and get those sacks, and all the linebackers come in and make the tackles. So very good team player, very nice guy, very soft-spoken guy. I enjoyed talking to him, and hopefully we'll get him back. He says he wanted to come back on the show. He's got more stories from us, so maybe we'll get one of those down the line.
Yeah, we'll have to do a Torell Troup episode again, where just story time with Torell Troup. So we'll see what we get there. Maybe we'll have him on a live show. Maybe he'll be good on a live show. We'll get one of his teammates. They can joke around, have some fun. So always cool to catch up with him. And Mike, you never know who will be on the Sons of UCF next. So be on the lookout. More great guests, hopefully coming soon. But what's not great are cows, and there's so many reasons why they're not great, Mike, and we don't have enough time to get into all those reasons. But each week we identify a person or persons or thing that we think is worthy of being called a cow. We call it Cow of the Week. What a catchy title that is, Mike. Do you have something that you would like to nominate for Cow of the Week?
Yeah, and last week I did the cows, which is very common around here. But I got to say, a couple times we've had to do UCF itself.
Uh-oh.
Some of our own guys have been cows sometimes.
Uh-oh.
And unfortunately, this week, it's back on us.
Oh, no.
And I don't know who exactly to point the finger to.
Okay. So you just
maybe
put everybody?
A certain person.
Okay.
But maybe a group of people.
Okay.
And I didn't go into this thing expecting a lot of pats on the back, but I did get some from the fans making the brackets. One thing I never got recognized from was UCF itself, UCF football account, anybody that works for the UCF pages at all, and Eric DeSalvo, and Mark Daniels, who I tagged and asked a question, and he did a lot of these calls on these plays. Not one. Even put a like on one of the videos, but you don't have to retweet it or even put a comment, but send the guy a like, put a little fire emoji, give me something to let me know that you've seen it. I know you've seen it. I don't understand what it is with these guys sometimes. They just act like we don't exist. We did the 20-year anniversary of the Alabama game. I don't think they ever mentioned that we ever did anything with that. We did this thing that I thought was pretty cool. Nothing. Crickets coming out of UCF. I know they're all over social media. They see these things all over Twitter. Would it hurt them just to hit a like button every once in a while, here and then? I don't know. I don't want to say I'm hurt by it, but I think it's kind of weak, to be honest.
UCF Mike wants his restitution. Not a lot of retweets, not a lot of love. And you mentioned the fans. I will say I'm trying to find the guy's name. I don't know if it's really important. But you posted the video, and you said this earlier in the show that no one's ever happy. You posted the video, and there's one guy in the dungeon who basically just was like, "This was terrible. This was hideous. I couldn't hear it. It was terrible quality." Like, you could literally post a video with the lottery numbers, and somebody will find a way to just disagree with it and think it's terrible, and just yell and scream about something. Another guy is really mad that there wasn't any Dante plays, which obviously there were some plays in the tournament. But here's a little spoiler alert for everybody. There wasn't a ton of TV cameras capturing all those UCF games back in the 96, 97, 98, 98-99 season, maybe 1 or 2 games a year would end up on some sort of a TV channel, which is why there's such a tough time finding old games, which is why the Alabama game being out there from 2000 is such a huge win, because you couldn't find a copy of it anywhere. So not a bunch of those games lying around. Contrary to popular belief, Mike and I, or Mike specifically, does not have like a library of every UCF game ever to choose from. So he's dealing with a bunch of bad options and still put a video together. But yet, Mike, we still managed to find people who are pissed off about it.
Until one of our buddies sent us the video of the Alabama game, I hadn't seen the Hinshaw helmet touchdown in almost 20 years. I hadn't seen the David Bush pick six in that long either. And a lot of people probably hadn't seen those plays in the same amount of time. It's hard to find plays from that era of football. Like you said, those games were not on TV. There was really no YouTube back then. There were people who were not going to the game and recording stuff on their phones. You couldn't get those home videos that people upload to YouTube. There was nothing. So to find some of the best, Alex Haynes touchdowns, go ahead, try to find them. I dare you. There's no way to get them. And UCF probably has that footage. They probably have an archive of those games. They don't put them out anywhere that I know of. So it's hard to find videos of those things. So I did the best I could with just YouTube videos, whatever clip was out there on YouTube, or a game that I had recorded on my TV or whatever, and I just basically just recorded it off my screen. So I did it all on an iPhone or on just the iMovie app. I don't have the editing tools that probably the UCF media department would have. I'm sure they could have done a way better job with it. But it is what it is, man. It just would have been nice if UCF would just come out one day and acknowledge that we exist at some point.
All right, well, UCF, you know where to find Mike at UCF.
I know they know who we are. Obviously, Trace is there at the press conferences wearing Sons of UCF shirts now, and he's calling himself by the Sons of UCF. They know we're there. I don't see why they can't just put a like on something.
Maybe a muffin basket as an olive branch, Mike? Everyone loves a muffin basket, right?
Oh, you're saying they should send me a muffin basket?
Yeah, maybe they can send you like a little muffin basket situation.
Sure. I'll take one of those.
Okay.
I mean, I am training for this 5K, so I don't know. Maybe wait a couple weeks.
Yes. Speaking of 5K, Mike, the shirts are in, and surprise, surprise, on the back, all of a sudden, there's the Sons of UCF logo. Look at that on the virtual 5K.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the recognition that I'm talking about out of UCF. But was that really out of UCF, or was that just out of our friends over at the Alumni Association in Palm Beach that got our names on it? I don't know. But that's what I'm talking about. They know we're there.
They know.
Send us out. Just let us know. Give us a little wink.
All right. Yeah, I'm winking at you right now. When are you running your race here? Do we need to synchronize our dates as a team? I know some people have commitments. If I go to the spring game, the first day, obviously it's the 11th or the 18th is kind of the running window. So it may be a long day on Saturday. I don't know if I'll do the run on Sunday. When are you running your actual race? Have you decided all that yet?
I have not decided. Okay. I would like to do it on the weekend, I guess Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah. Yep.
The 17th is, let's see. I have a softball game with the girls that day, but I think it's like 12 o'clock. I may be able to do it early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
That's a possibility. If not, maybe it would be that Sunday. I was thinking about, or maybe just running it during the week. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Do you know when you're doing it?
I don't. Like I said, if I go a spring game on the 10th, obviously I would not do it on the 11th, which is Sunday, just depending on what time I get back and how long. If I'm sunburned, that could be annoying. So that, to your point, that pushes me probably till later on in that week, if not that Saturday, Sunday weekend day. So that's probably the window I'm looking at, is right towards the very end there. I don't want to feel like I'm sandbagging this thing and wait till the very end. But that just may be the best from a schedule standpoint. Unless I can carve out some time, maybe after work one day, although I hate running in the night. I like to be fresh in the morning. So unknown yet.
Yeah, I do my best running first thing in the morning too. But it's a dangerous game, like we said. If you wait till that last day and then what happens is that it's an ugly day out and there's a lot of rain, you're going to have to check the weather a few days in advance, make sure you're in the clear for that. But
we hadn't talked about this. Are we allowing treadmill running?
Oh, I don't know what the official bylaws of the race
I don't know either.
are.
I never looked it up. I don't really like treadmills myself. But I mean, maybe I don't know. I didn't know if are we allowing treadmill running. I mean, you're still running your 3.13, right?
Technically, yes. I feel like that's kind of cheating it a little bit because the whole point, keeping the pace yourself is hard.
Yes.
But you have a machine forcing you to keep that pace. I think it helps you out a little bit.
Okay.
Now, I know you've been training. You haven't said anything about it, but I know you've been doing it without telling anybody. I know you want to come out with a big surprise. You're probably going to come out and run this thing in like 21 minutes, right?
Unlikely. Yeah, highly unlikely. You're underestimating my knee pain. You're underestimating my right knee tendonitis has definitely kicked in. I had a sinus infection last week, so I lost a couple days of training there. I did get a couple miles in on Sunday. Just keep the legs loose. Went out for a little run this morning, just a quick little half-mile situation, just to keep the legs loose. Did a little walking this afternoon, and just kind of building up that stamina. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Here's the thing: do you have a course laid out? Do you know the 3-1 you're going to run? Do you know where you're going to be at? How you're going to do it? Have you figured all that out yet?
Not really.
Okay. Yeah, neither have I.
I have two places where I usually run. It's either around the neighborhood here by my house, or I go down to the beach and I just run down the strip there. And that's usually fun. The tricky thing is how windy it is on those days.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be very windy. It makes it a lot harder. If there's no wind, then it's not bad at all. And obviously the time of day, if you do it anytime past like 11, it gets pretty hot out there.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get it done with early. I'm not sure, man. You know, I've been training for this thing, but I think I told you I signed up for one of those Spartan races.
Oh, did
I've
you
never
now?
done one before.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's really what I'm really training for is that thing, which is the following week.
Oh wow. Okay.
April 24th in Boca. Maybe some people are listening to this. Maybe even.
Are you doing the 5K or the 10K?
It's a 5K
So
with 20 obstacles.
You're doing the sprint. Okay, I think it's a Spartan sprint. I think. Okay.
I've never done one.
Okay.
I'm kind of scared.
You'll be fine.
And if you don't do an obstacle, you have to do 20 burpees.
That's correct. It used to be 30.
So,
is it 20 or 30?
Oh, really?
I thought it was 30.
Oh,
I could be wrong.
that's
It's been
worse.
I haven't done a Spartan in like 7 years, but I thought it was 30.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's I'm more nervous about that. Running this other 5K seems like a breeze to me now, even though I don't know. The last couple of weeks, I went away on vacation last weekend. I took a few days off this past weekend. I didn't really get to do anything. I had a softball game Saturday. I had people over for Easter on Sunday. I didn't really get to work out this weekend. So I need to get back on track now in these next 2 weeks and get stronger again and get ready for these things.
Well, so are you running with a group of people this part? And I assume there's people going with you. Yes.
Just my brother-in-law talked me into doing it. He signed up for it, and then he told me about it, and I said, okay, I'll do it with you.
Okay.
He's about 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
And he's actually training to do like an Ironman, which is, I don't know, he's got to swim like 5 miles, ride a bike for like 40 or 50 miles, and then run so he's training for that. This is a warm-up for him. So that's the only guy I know that's doing it.
Gotcha.
So I'll go with him early in the morning and do it, and I don't know what to expect.
Yeah, the strategy. I mean, so the run between the obstacles is kind of your time to catch your breath, depending on what the obstacle is, right? So you want to keep a good pace there, but you don't want to tire yourself out on the runs because then you're gonna have to climb a wall and do this other nonsense. So you want to keep yourself, keep a good pace, I guess, on the run between the obstacles. Prepare for that. You're gonna get mud, water, fire. Who the heck knows? Maybe you'll get shocked by a couple things. It can be a fun experience after it's over. There's like a field typically, and there's beer and there's food and whatnot. People hanging out. You're muddy as crap, and every part of your body hurts. But it's a good experience. If you have a good group of people, sometimes the crowd also helps you out a little bit. So the people will. Maybe if you need a boost up or something, and that's really depends on what time you're going. That's actually the hardest part on these, in my opinion, was you'd run your ass off between, obstacle 1, obstacle 2. Let's say obstacle 2 was the cargo net climb, and you got to climb up an incline of a cargo net. Well, it can only be so many people on the cargo net, right? So if you get there and there's like 10 people in front of you waiting to get in the cargo net, like your time is kind of waiting while other people are getting onto the cargo net. There's only so many spaces you can go. So depending on what time you go, if you have an earlier heat, you may have a better opportunity. But sometimes you find yourself waiting around just to get on the obstacle because everybody else is kind of working their way through it.
Oh, I'm not going to like that. I might just choose to do burpees on things like that and keep it moving. I don't want once I start, stopping and then starting again is the hardest part.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it can depend. Yeah.
Yeah. So It'll be a fun experience, I think. The problem is that you said that you get to hang out and drink beers and stuff afterwards. I got to coach my kid's softball game, I think, at 12:30 that day. So this thing is supposed to – it says 8 o'clock. I don't know what time I'm actually going to get to start the thing. Hopefully it's not too much longer after that.
Well, you should get a heat. You should get a heat time, so they should tell you essentially what time your heat starts, and you get there, you hang around, then they basically like 8:05, 8:10. I think it's like every 5 or 10 minutes the heat goes off. So you basically wait around until your heat time, and then so they're essentially trying to give enough room for the group in front of you to clear through. So.
All right, and then they supposedly they announced the obstacles like the Thursday before, so I got like 2 days ahead of time to know what I'm doing.
There's gyms out there that actually prepare you for that kind of stuff. I don't know. They're pricey. They're expensive. They're actually doing something up here in Jax. They're doing a Spartan. It's called a DECA. It's like a decathlon where it's 10 different like exercise movements. So it's a little bit like CrossFit-ish, but not. That's in June. I was eyeing that one with some people, but I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, you're more experienced in this thing than I am. So.
Yeah, I think I've done 4 or 5 of these things at this point now, but it's been like 7 years or so. So.
Wow.
It's fun.
That's what I'm saying. See, everybody's here. They don't hear you talking about your training, but you're sandbagging all of us. I expect.
But hey, I'm not training for it. I'm not doing that the next week. So I'm just usually going to the gym, doing the garage. Hitting the burpees here and there, doing some Irish pickups, whatever's on the board that day. Just trying to stay out of trouble.
I know you're competitive. You're gonna be the juice is gonna get flowing. You're gonna be running that 5K in 22 minutes.
Ooh. Well, speaking of competitive. Mike out of the week quickly. Paul Pierce, poor guy, went on IG Live and had a bunch of strippers and around him, and then got fired by ESPN. And the funny thing is, he put himself on IG Live. It's not like somebody was taping him or one of the other people put it out there for him. So poor Paul Pierce got a little wild and got fired. A co-cow of the week, Mike. Do you know who Tim Reynolds is by any chance?
I know the name. Was he a baseball reporter or something?
Yeah, he's a reporter for the AP. He broke the he's in Miami, I think. He broke the Randy Shannon news or mentioned it and said that now Randy is now coach for the Big Three. Somebody responded back and said, make that Big Four. Don't forget UCF. And, of course, he was like, oh, that doesn't count. I said Big Three. Until our hero, Stan Van Gundy, of all people, sort of clapped back at him and said that he needs to include UCF because they're better than half of those teams anyway. And then Tim Reynolds acquiesced and then included UCF based on Stan Van Gundy's response. So, cow of the week to Tim Reynolds, who's kind of a constant UCF hater, and good to see Stan Van Gundy on the UCF train.
Yeah, SVG.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. That's been the cool thing about this national championship thing since 2017. You've seen people take sides, and a lot of people have taken our side. And we spend a lot of time talking about the people that hate on us and people that are our biggest detractors. But we've picked up a lot of people that weren't fans of ours before or just didn't care about us before, and now they are UCF supporters, like Stan Van Gundy.
Good to have Stan Van as part of the crew, Mike, and good to have episode number 127 done and finished here. So it was a fun one, my friend, as always. Glad we were able to do it again. Hopefully, everyone out there is enjoying the last week of the sort of football spring season. And then it's on to sort of the doldrums of summer. But don't forget the volleyball team, softball team, baseball team, maybe still alive for postseason stuff. Tennis team as well, soccer. So there's still a bunch going on in UCF land. So make sure you keep yourself plugged in. ESPN Plus, Mike, actually is a good spot for all these things. I'm not going to lie.
All right. Yeah, it's been a jam-packed show. We talked about basically everything from football to volleyball to us training for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So what else do you want from us? We're doing what we can here at the Sons of UCF. Some people are going to be getting hats. Some people are going to be running races with us soon. So it's been a fun time.
And stay tuned again. Follow us on social media. We'll be back on Thursday, Mike, live show with Trace Trelko. Who knows who will be on that show? We got a lot of names that we've been throwing around. We'll see if we can corral any of these guys. We've got some emails out to some people. Hopefully we'll have some fun, sort of new, interesting guests coming up soon. So make sure you tune in to us on the live show every Thursday, and then follow the pod here as well. Each and every Tuesday-ish, you'll have one in your feed. So until then, everybody have another fantastic week, and let's hope we have a fantastic spring game as well. Everybody be safe, be well, and go Knights.
Charge on.